Hello, I'm Colonel Michael Greenberg, the Fort Belvoir Garrison Commander. Thank you for joining us today at this week's Facebook Town Hall event. Captain Judy and I truly appreciate the opportunity to update you on the installation's COVID-19 response plan and, more importantly, to address any concerns or questions that you may have. First, I want to apologize. We typically do these on Thursdays. However, due to some unforeseen circumstances, yesterday in the afternoon, we decided it was best to postpone 24 hours. So thank you for joining us on Friday opposed to Thursday. And then, as always, I have Captain Judy with me, Cindy Judy, the director of the Fort Belvoir Community Hospital. Thank you for joining us today, and we also have some other representatives in the room. I also have our chaplain, who's going to talk about some of the religious support services that we are providing. So I just want to give you some updates before we get into questions and answers. So first, as many of you are aware, our military units recently deployed to the National Capital Region, and as a result, you may have seen increased numbers of service members on this and other local installations here in the National Capital Region. So I want to thank all those who helped us in supporting those service members here on the installation. So from DES to DFMWR to AFES, and really across the board, truly a heroic effort as we supported those troops. Also, please be sure to use the hashtag #AskBelvoir if you're posting your question on Facebook page. I also want to recommend that you bookmark our Fort Belvoir website. If you haven't already done so, our PAO, if you guys can post the link out there now. And on that site, we also have a running list of our frequently asked questions. Next Thursday at 10 a.m., Fort Belvoir will host our virtual Army birthday celebration in recognition of our 245th birthday of our nation's Army. Lieutenant General Fogarty, the Commanding General for our Cyber, will be our keynote speaker. The ceremony will be live streamed on Facebook page. We hope that you join us for that event. Today is World Environment Day. I want to give a special thanks to our Garrison environmental team for all that they do in helping support one of our Army's most beautiful installations and the work they do to ensure that we work closely with local and federal agencies to meet the Army's environmental goals. I also encourage you to do what you can to protect the environment. Tomorrow is the 76th anniversary of the Battle of Normandy, which resulted in the Allied liberation of Western Europe from Nazi Germany's control. The Normandy landing was among the largest amphibious operations in history, served as the beginning to the end of World War II. Many of those who served and fought during the era have made their transition from Earth to rest, but what they accomplished in the defense of freedom and liberty lives on. And finally, although COVID-19 may not be the only things on your mind, just remember there is strength in diversity, and is one of the things that makes our military among the most trusted institutions in our nation. Continue to work together to maintain an environment of dignity and respect. I echo the words of General Perna from the Army Material Command, the Commanding General. We need each of you healthy, engaged, resilient, and strong. And so with that, I'll pass it over to Cindy Judy.
Hey, that's a great segue. Thanks, Colonel. Last week General Jones ended the town hall by talking about readiness. And he emphasized that the military, across the services and across the world, is ready today. He went on to say that when the nation needs our military, we'll be there. And so this week's thank you from me goes out to all of our Fort Belvoir installation deployers and those families who support them. At the hospital alone, in addition to our Garrison healthcare mission, we've supported a number of missions worldwide over the past months with sailors and soldiers in Iraq, Afghanistan, Guantanamo Bay, Suda Bay, Korea, Kuwait, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. They've also done pandemic responses all over our nation. as well as in processing of our newest generation of sailors, soldiers, Marines, and airmen. So the mission continues. Our military mission never stops, and our deployers and their families deserve gratitude and recognition. So thank you. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, it's one thing for me to sit here week after week and describe the care that's going on at the hospital and tell everybody to feel comfortable with the care, but it's even more powerful when that description comes from our patients. And so our public affairs team at the hospital has started something new that you'll see in the shift report if you read that. I think the Belvoir Eagle is going to feature it as well, and it's been posted on the Fort Belvoir Community Hospital Facebook page. And it's really what our patients are saying. And so my visual for today is look for this. But I wanted to share with you today's patient story comes from a patient from L&D who was extremely happy with the care that she received both in the clinic and in labor and delivery, and felt very fortunate to be able to have both of her children with the same physician. She actually called out Dr. Wood by name, expressing much gratitude and appreciation. What she wanted to say was that with COVID-19 being an issue in the world, the hospital took the necessary precautions and safety measures to ensure that I was safe. Prior to the delivery of my baby, the wellness appointments were done either virtually or face-to-face, and I never felt as if I wasn't getting quality care. I'm thankful to the staff and for the wonderful memories. And so I know that is often a cause for concern for a lot of new parents who are wondering what that delivery story is going to be for their family. And so from one of our patients, she's sharing that everything was okay, right? And so if that helps put you at ease, more so than what I tell you week after week, know that we're really here, right? And we really care. And we care about not only the quality of care that you're getting, but we also care about that experience that you have alongside of that. And so even though we've got the pandemic going on, we want to make sure that we can give you the best experience possible, and it doesn't matter what department that's in. Obviously, when you're bringing a new life into the world, though, there are a lot of expectations that go along with that. I have a couple of questions that people have asked that I can do the catch-up questions for the week. One was, how many cases are being treated at Fort Belvoir? You know I'm not going to give that number, but what I will tell you optimistically is that the number of inpatients that we have that are admitted with a COVID-related diagnosis right now is lower than it was when we first started this. And so there's my little bit of optimism going on. Obviously, we've got a lot of outpatient testing going on. You can see what the Fairfax County and all of those other numbers are, but our number of inpatients with COVID is definitely less than it was at the start. Okay. There were a lot of questions about protecting staff and patients who are using the curbside pharmacy. And so I just wanted to remind folks to continue to wear their face covering when they're using that curbside pharmacy. It seems a little atypical because you're in your car, but for you and for that staff member that's helping you, what I'd really like is for if you both wear your face covering, then you're both protecting one another. And so I've gotten a lot of feedback from both the staff and patients in that area. You're not actually inside the building, but we would like for folks to wear their face covering. Which brings up another subject. A lot of people, as the weather has changed, summer is here, we talk about recovery over and over again. People are starting to wear their face coverings a little bit less. And there are still a lot of areas, in addition to the hospital, on the installation that require that face covering. And so we've seen sort of an uptick in patients getting stopped at the door because they don't have a face covering on. So this is just a reminder to remember to bring your face covering if you're coming to the hospital or to the commissary or other places, that I don't have enough to hand out for every single person every time they come to the hospital. We do have some, but we need people to wear their face coverings when they come to the hospital. There was another question, is there a testing strategy in place for contractors, DoD personnel that will go into effect when we return to work, vice the regular measures that are being taken at the door with the temperature scanning or the questions, depending on where you're working and what they're doing in those particular places? And the answer is not yet. I've seen some draft policies that are coming out from DoD where they might test a certain percentage of the workforce periodically, but there's nothing like that in place right now. The single greatest thing that you can do, remember, testing is not a prevention measure, right? Testing just tells us maybe if there's a risk of exposure. The greatest things that you can do, that hand washing, that social distancing, wearing face coverings when you can't ensure that social distancing, are still going to be important as people return to work. And I think that the other thing that's really important for people to remember is that that as people return to work, some of them haven't been in that environment for a long period of time, whether it's at the hospital or whether it's at another command on the installation, and they're just nervous about coming back. And so this is the time for what we in the Navy call the deck plate leaders to really step up, right? And so that's that first line supervisor level, whatever you call it in your service or in the civilian force, the division officer, the department head, and so on. It's time for folks to have open conversations about their concerns in their workspace, right? The installation commander is not going to put out a policy that says, in every building on this base, we're going to do X to our desk or Y to our phone. Those kinds of things are going to happen at that first line supervisor level, where the employees and those supervisors talk openly about what their concerns are and how they can mitigate that risk in those responses. So as people come back to work, I really want people to engage with their chains of command and bring their concerns forward. And if there's anything that you need from the hospital that you need, like a health information about, or answer certain questions about risk related to the health piece, then we're here for you to help you answer those questions. You're not alone. But the best way to get through all of that and to have the most flexibility and feel the safest in your workspace is to resolve those at that level. I think that's it for my questions for now.
Okay,
So
great.
I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. And so before we go into the question and answers, I just want to take some time to update you on a couple other key topics. And so I understand and I appreciate your patience on the popular services. We are looking at all activities and services on the installation. So we are readdressing those, but again, I want you to remember that we're not going to sacrifice safety and standards for speed. And so as we open things up, one, I appreciate the hospital, the continued support of the public health assessments that you're doing. Just so everyone knows, we do have a public health assessor going out every week, looking at all facilities on the installation. As we open up additional facilities, such as the barbershop last week, we continue to check on those as well. So thank you for that. It helps out tremendously. First, if you didn't notice, as you're driving through the gates, the FPCON level, the force protection condition level, has increased to Charlie due to some of the events that have been occurring. And so that is now the condition of the installation. That should be posted in all common and public areas. As far as gates and installation access, so as I said last week, I believe I said that we were looking at Kimming Gate, open that up here in the next couple weeks. Again, I'm not going to announce a date yet. However, I will say here in the next couple weeks, getting closer, that Kimming Gate should be opening. Again, the conditions that we're looking at is traffic flow going in the installation and the health of our force. And in addition to that, our force protection condition levels. Our barbershops. So we have had a very good first week at the barbershops. We haven't had any incidents in the barbershops. As you know, we open those for service members in uniform. We will continue to assess. However, effective tomorrow, I'm going to relax the uniform standards. And so tomorrow will still be service members, but service members can be in or out of uniform in order to use those barbershop services. And I would say here in the next couple weeks, if not sooner, that we will start to open the barbershop up for non-service members as well. And as always, I like to highlight something in our paper. And so on the front page, if you look at the bottom portion of the front page, you'll see the barbershop made headlines on just some of the great things that we're doing at the barbershop. So thank you for all the barbers out there and hairdressers. So females, service members can also get their haircuts. Thank you for providing that service. Our child development centers. And so again, I know that's one that's on a lot of people's minds. And we continue to work through the stages of opening up the child development centers. We are not there yet on expanding those services. However, as a lot of the child development center employees know, we have asked them to come back to work here in the next couple days or weeks. And so again, we have started to begin to mobilize our child development center workers. We're making sure that we open up slowly, that we protect our workforce and protect our children. And so we will continue to do that and make sure that we are in tune with all guidelines that are put out there, and all social distancing and restricted group numbers in each of the classrooms. What we have done also is we have resent out to all the parents the mission essential verification letters, and we are getting those back. We have also started notifications out to parents of those who are towards the bottom of the priority lists that really need to begin to look at alternative cares now. And again, we are trying to work through that process as soon as we can. And we do know that is one on everyone's mind. If you didn't know, Virginia has moved into phase 2 today. However, as you also know, Northern Virginia cities, to include us, our county, plus Richmond, is delayed in moving into phase 2. And so again, we continue to monitor that and make sure that we're in a line with the counties, for one, but also in most cases we are actually lagging behind them by a week or two. One of the activities that we're looking at opening up here in the next couple of weeks is the Marina. So I know that has had some concerns or questions on where we're going to open that up. So that is on the schedule to open in the next couple of weeks. Again, I won't give a date yet. However, by next week we should have a date that we can put out to folks. The Bluebird Watch program, I think that's what it's called, the program we talked about last week of looking at the bluebirds. I'm happy to announce starting tomorrow, that program is now back open to the public. I think there's a small group of people that are doing that. Thank you for doing that for the installation. Again, we are opening that back up tomorrow. I want to just highlight the North Post Express, and I don't know if I told you last week, but I had meant to, that the North Post Express fuel station, which is the fuel point that is closest to the commissary, has shut down. Okay, and so you'll see fence around the actual fuel pumps. That's actually a great news story for the installation. And so we're doing major renovations, replacing all the fuel pumps with new equipment. We're also extending out fuel pumps and providing diesel as well. That project will work, will be in the workings for the next couple of months. The concessionaire, the shopette, will still be open, but the fuel pumps will be down. Another good news story is the South Post fuel pumps will actually now be open 24 hours a day. So they'll be open during the day, all the pumps, and then at night we have 2 pumps, so limited pumps, that will be open. We have left a couple of gloves also at the site. I ask you only use those gloves that you need for one use. And again, AAFES, thank you for the cooperative effort. And it really takes a lot of time, effort, and work to be able to coordinate all this out. So again, another update. And then for PAO, are you able to post the schedule for all AAFES? So I'm going to ask us to post all the schedules for all the AAFES across the installation. And so you'll see those hours. Just of note, if you didn't realize it, but Dunkin' Donuts has been shut down for a while, for the last couple of weeks, as we were going through major renovation. That major renovation is done, and the grand opening should be, the soft opening should be on Monday. Again, you'll see that on the schedule, but again, that's another new facilities that is out there. The timelines and the hours are adjusting. So the AAFES did adjust hours. They've extended some hours at the main exchange. You'll see that on there as well. And then some of our other vendors across the installation have also adjusted hours. So please take that, print it out. You'll see all the vendors across the installation and all the new times. Okay, I'm going to bring up our special guest for today. So Lieutenant Colonel Dean Akers is our RSO, or our Religious Support Officer, for the installation. I'm going to give him a couple minutes to talk about that.
Good evening, everyone. As Colonel Greenberg said, my name is Chaplain Dean Akers. I've been the Deputy Garrison Chaplain here at Fort Belvoir for a little over the past year, and right now I'm in the interim garrison position until our new garrison chaplain comes in at the middle of July. Many things are going on within our world today. One of our former chief of chaplains used to always articulate that chaplains and religious affairs specialists need to bring a message of hope. I am here to tell you that we are very hopeful with our future, and that your garrison team and the hospital team are doing everything that they can to maintain our readiness while maintaining and keeping everybody safe. I encourage you to reach out to individuals that give you encouragement in the way that you need, and I want you to know that your religious support office is always here to support you if you reach out to us. I also wanted to address some items that have come to us concerning religious services here at Fort Belvoir. All of our religious services can be found on the Fort Belvoir Religious Support Office Facebook page. And underneath there, we have groups for each specific worship group. Most of our Protestant services are offering Facebook Live at this time of their normal service. Our Jewish and Catholic communities have had links on there in order for their congregants to continue to worship. And each service is held to standards according to their religious endorsing body. The RSO is putting all religious information that we receive from each senior religious leader on our RSO page. At this time, people feel free to reach out to us at the RSO for any questions or concerns you may have. My number is 703-806-3394. In proper military fashion, I say again, my direct phone number is 703-806-3394. To answer a couple of questions that you have asked specifically, as far as for program updates, starting June 14th, most of our services will start having Facebook Live conducted at Belvoir Chapel. For that reason, we've had to adjust some of the times in order to properly sanitize after each service. So beginning on 14 June, the 08 traditional service will continue as they are doing now. 10 o'clock Catholic services will pick back up. 1200 hours on Sunday's chapel next will pick back up. And then on 21 June, the gospel service will pick back up at 1400. And then on 19 June, the Jewish services will begin Facebook Live as well within our Belvoir Chapel. Our youth groups have been meeting virtually during this time and continue to meet. Youth activities are underway through their supervision of the Director of Religious Education. If you need to know more information about the specific youth groups, just reach out to our DREs or once again reach out to me directly. Very important, I want to make sure that everybody knows, our chapels have not closed during this time, and they have remained open. We have had limited staff for that reason, but they have remained open. And during this time, people have come in to pray and to just go in and meditate within our chapels. We are always open. Of course, we're practicing social distancing, or as our chief of chaplains likes to say, physical distancing, because we are maintaining being active socially. We do not like to, we have been offering many services and religious education as well through our Facebook page. So I encourage you to look at that. We've even started up a Buddhist study during this time because we've had an individual who's gone through the proper channels in order to get certified in order to do that. At this time, please allow me to paraphrase briefly what AR 165-1, the Chaplain Corps activities, states. Chaplains are on loan to the Army from their endorsing agency, especially when it comes to matters of religious services. Chaplains must stay within their limits of their endorsing agencies. Chaplain Colonel Fleury is our senior Catholic chaplain, and he is the SME when it comes to our senior Catholic items. For any further information on AR 165, I would ask you to look at it or give me a call, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. Due to some of the items I've read to you from AR 165, sacramental concerns need to be worked through the respective chaplains due to their religious requirements. Protestant chaplains have continued to offer monthly Lord's Supper or communion, but not all faiths have been able to because of their religious requirements. Please feel free to contact us concerning these if you have any questions or if you're not able to contact your religious leader directly. Finally, thank you for allowing me to serve our greatest individuals in the world, and that's our warriors and their families. God bless.
Thank you very much for doing that. Thank you, Chaplain. Okay, we're gonna go to some questions and answers. I'm gonna start with a couple, and I'm gonna ask DHR if you can come up as I'm doing some answering. So as far as there was questions on playgrounds, and thank you for some of the pictures as well. And I know that's a topic of discussion across Fort Belvoir. And so I've deemed it as requiring a safety inspection of every playground on the installation. And so starting on Monday, the Garrison's certified playground safety inspectors will be going out to each playground. They will do it in about a 2-week period, assess every playground. Playgrounds are still not on the list to open up yet, and so we're not delaying opening of anything at this point. However, once we assess the playgrounds from a Garrison perspective, we'll continue to push forward. However, again, if there are any life health safety concerns with any of our playgrounds, those playgrounds will not open until those are fixed. Go ahead, Mr. Rennick. Go ahead and answer your couple questions.
Good afternoon, all. Kevin Rennick again, Director of Human Resources. There are a few questions within the DHR portfolio this afternoon that I'd like to answer for you. First, DOD confusion on new stop movement order posted May 22nd. We'll do the PCS in August. Will we still be able to PCS, or is stop movement extended? Currently, stop movement remains in effect until 30 June. We have not received any additional guidance beyond the 30 June end date. However, soldiers are PCSing with an approved exception to policy. What about meeting guidelines to allow for PCS movements both to and from base? Our military personnel division are lockstep with meeting Army directives and guidelines as it pertains to PCS movements. We are corresponding with your unit or soldier unit S1s to ensure the appropriate documentation needed for PCS moves are submitted and signed by the appropriate approving authority. I also want to encourage all soldiers as it pertains to their PCS movements to please consult with your chain of command and your gaining unit as well for their further procedures and processes once you arrive. Next question. I'm relocating to the Pentagon from Hawaii. I've gotten conflicting reports on or if my family and I will need to quarantine. We should be arriving around 24 June. Who can give me the official answer on quarantine? Per Army guidance, anyone returning from overseas is required to quarantine. However, the best response, again, is to obtain quarantine procedures from your gaining unit of assignment. At this time, I just want to pause because I want to encourage all soldiers to take advantage of the Army sponsorship program. That is the best program, especially in this current environment, that soldiers can utilize to assist them during this or during your transition. So please, seek with your unit S1, your HR representative, find out how you can get a sponsor. And therefore, those questions and concerns that you have going into your new duty station, you should be able to obtain, and that should ease some of your stresses and anxieties that we are hearing and receiving from you. But as always, again, thank you for your question, thank you for your time, and we're here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me answer a couple more questions. So there's been a question about enhanced screening. So as you know, we are doing some enhanced screening at the commissary. We are doing some checks at the PX, and then we have our COVID patrols that are going out and just making sure people are putting face coverings on. So those will continue over the next couple weeks. However, here, again, not going to give a date time group yet, but here in the next couple weeks, could be 1 to 2 weeks, you may start seeing some of that screening going down. And so, again, as the Fairfax County and Northern Virginia start going into phase 2 as well, and again, increasing in groups, we will also look at that. That will be one of our conditions as we start looking at going down into HPCon Bravo. So as of right now, we're still in HPCon Charlie, but we are seeing, as you said, some positive trends, not just across the county, but also at the hospital, and so that's definitely a good news story. One of the other questions that came up was, I guess at Fort Myer, they are allowing drivers to actually show their IDs through their windows while the windows are up. And in fact, they're asking people to roll their windows up. And the question is, can we do that here? And so the answer is no, we're not going to do this here. So thank you for the question. However, we feel that our ability to be able to see inside the vehicles and to see the personnel not through a window but actually without a window closed is important for safety and protection of our population. So again, thanks for the question, but we are going to continue to do our security measures the way we're doing it here on the installation. One of the other questions was, how do you justify denying care to a mission essential soldier just because one spouse is not a mission essential soldier? And so again, I think everyone is already tracking that we do have limited care spaces at this time, and mission essential soldiers with a full-time working non-essential spouse is classified as a priority 6 on the interim pandemic patron priorities and will be placed in the capacity of the facilities maybe in the upcoming months. But again, now as we are in the stages that we're in, if both parents are not considered mission essential, then they don't pop at the top of that priority list. I'm going to ask Mr. Dixon if you would come up and answer some of your questions.
Good evening. CYS questions from Facebook. Question 1. In order to fully implement a Child Care Aware of America subsidy application, Child Care Aware needs a certification of non-availability from CYS to complete the packet. We have emailed CYS repeatedly over the last few weeks and have not even received acknowledgement of our request for this document. What is CYS plan to address the need for these CNAs for those families that are planning on using Child Care Aware for their child care needs going forward? Answer. Per current operational guidance from DoD, the requirement for a statement of non-availability has been temporarily waived for 90 days, and parents can submit their applications without the SNA directly to Child Care Aware of America. Parent Central Services offices has limited services and hours at this time until directed to reopen when health conditions improve. Question 2. If our child is not going back to their CDC, how do we get our credit back? Answer. Parents are to message the CYS Facebook or email the Contact Us email box to request a refund if not returning to CYS. Someone will get back with you within 72 business hours to assist you. Due to the large volume of requests being received, refunds could take 15 days to process. Question 3. Is there a plan in place for parents that may work on Fort Belvoir and due to the pandemic they are unable to attain safe, viable daycare due to schools being closed for the rest of the year and summer day camps? Is there something in place where Fort Belvoir will look at these issues that will directly affect parents coming back to work at some point? Answer. CYS recognizes the significant impact and hardship COVID operations has caused our CYS families for finding viable child care options for CDC and SAC displaced children as parents begin to report back to work. CDC and SAC have been directed to remain at limited COVID operational capacities in the coming months and will continue to assess the current capability and operational capacity during this time. Parents will need to seek alternative child care arrangements outside of CYS until conditions improve. I think this is important to remember that as of right now, there is a child care crisis in this area. We are going from 1,200 kids in care down to approximately 600 kids in care due to the ratios in the classrooms. And until those are lifted, we're not going to be able to go to full capacity. So we kindly ask that you keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Okay, there was a couple other questions for DPW. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to answer some of them. And so, first, housing is. The question was, does housing report positive staff members to the garrison, positive cases? And the answer is yes. And so I think we highlighted it last week. Captain Judy, I think, talked about it as well a little bit last week. She looked at the letters as well that went out to those who got those letters. And so, yes, we are tracking housing and across the installation, all other activities. Another question was, can we have the villages of Belvoir as a special guest to answer questions? I will work on with the villages of Belvoir to get someone out to potentially be a special guest. For next week, our special guest is Fairfax County City Executive Brian Hill, and so the county executive or city executive, I guess he's a county executive, would be able to kind of tell us what's going on in Fairfax County. But we will in the future look at bringing the villages of Belvoir out to answer some questions as well. Cindy, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, so a few have come in during this particular town hall. One was, will limitations be lifted for L&D by August? And my answer is, gosh, I hope so, right? We reassess that on a regular basis, and again, we're monitoring the amount of patients that we have in the hospital, the positive testing rate, and so on. And so we really want to balance our patients' safety with all of that care experience that you want. And so the minute I can lift some of the visitation restrictions, especially for L&D, I will do so. But I don't have that answer. I can't tell you in August if it's going to be like that. But my hope is that it will. Another question was, when do you think we'll be able to make, and they listed a whole bunch of appointments, whether they were well visits or primary care visits or GYN visits. And the answer is that you can call and make an appointment today. Appointments are available. I think this week's we're about 61% booked, and so there is appointment availability for both virtual and face-to-face appointments. And so please, if you need care or you're just doing your routine wellness exams, then please go ahead and make those appointments. And then the other one was, why do you have everyone coming in and out of the same door? There's always a big cluster of people going through screening. Is there a better way to do this? So we actually monitor the number of people coming through that front door, and there's a lot of logistics reasons why we have patients entering the front door. And the main reason is because patient parking is in front of the hospital right now. So if you recall, we've got staff coming in through one of the garages, and we're doing staff screening. That was one of the early restricted access point control measures that was put into place. And then we took the other parking garage and we turned it into curbside pharmacy. I can't run a curbside pharmacy safely and open the garage and have cars going through that pharmacy at the same time. And so far there's been plenty of patient parking in front of the hospital in those lots. And so having them come through the main entrance is the best way to do that. Now, one of the things that we've done to mitigate, sometimes there is a group of people coming in. It doesn't happen very often, so I'm sorry if it's happened to you when you're coming in the hospital. But some of the things that we've done is we've adjusted our staffing at that door so that we can have somebody sometimes step outside and start some of the screening to move people through a little bit quicker. And again, when I can, I'll open more doors and have more access for people to come in just more than the front door. But doing so is going to take away that drive-through pharmacy, and I know that people want to keep that curbside pharmacy for now. So please, if you're coming in the door and there seems to be a larger group coming in at a time, do a little bit of social distancing. We will care for you. If that delays you slightly, we're not going to turn you away. But that's the best solution for now in these times, and we'll adjust as we can.
All right, great. I know there's a couple more questions. So one, with more people heading back to the office, will gate operations change? So the answer is yes. Again, we're looking at FPCon levels as well. We are looking at Kimman Gate as the next gate opening. More to follow. We'll probably announce a date next town hall. The other question was, I was told this morning that DC Region moved to HPCon, I think that should say FPCon, Charlie. Should our guests still use the online pass request form and email it back to visit us? Will the process of passes be affected? And the answer is no. We set up the registration and it's actually working very well. How many folks we have? About 200 of those online passes have been processed over the last 2 to 3 weeks since opening. And so it is working very well. And again, The main reason for doing that, besides keeping folks away, is we have a visitor center, very small visitor center, and so that keeps those crowds out of that visitor center. Okay, I think we've answered all the initial questions. Are there other questions?
Yes, sir. Can visitors enter the PX now?
So the answer is yes. The question is, can visitors answer the PX now? The answer is yes. They can use the concessionaires, the food courts. If I could get, I think AFES is on the line. If AFES, if you could reply back, the question was, what's the visitor policy inside the exchange? There seems to be some confusing on if DoD ID card holders can bring non-DoD ID card holders in the exchange. So if I can get AFES, if you're online, to answer that. Otherwise, we'll put that on frequently asked questions, and we'll readdress that at next town hall.
When will the pools reopen?
Great question. So the question was, when will the pools reopen? So we are getting pools ready to open right now. Whether they open or not, the pools still need to be run to make sure they're operating. If you looked at Fairfax County's phased approach, right now in Fairfax County, pools are not opening. However, if you look at other plans across the country, there are pools opening. And so the unclear answer I gave last week, which is the same answer I will give this week, is pools right now are not going to open. However, that does not mean that here in the next couple weeks, as we go through and see what other guidelines are out there. So, fortunately from last week to this week, some additional guidance on running pools have gone out there. That may be a good question next week to ask the county executive as well. But when I talked to him the last time, about 2 weeks ago, part of the rationale with him not opening any of the county pools was there wasn't a lot of guidelines out there. We have gotten guidelines in the last week, and so we'll continue to work with our county partners and see what they're doing, see what the state is doing, and across states, and then make a decision here in the next couple weeks. All right. Any other questions? No other questions. Chaplain, did you get a question? I think the chaplain got a question. So
Well, I didn't get a question, but there was a question about today was Mount Vernon High School's graduates, and have we thought about congratulating you? I know as a father of a daughter who graduated from West Springfield High School officially on Monday, I personally want to congratulate you all for what you've done and held on during this process of all the virtual stuff. So, and I know Colonel Greenberg and Captain Judy would do the same. So, congratulations.
all right, thank you, and that's a good point. So for all grads, we have done that before, congratulating everyone across the board. But I also want a special congrats for, we're doing our 6th grade bridging ceremony next week. I cannot remember the day, but I know I just created here in the last hour and a half my message as we do a virtual graduation. And so for all those 6th graders out there, I hope you got your arms ready so you could do some push-ups with me during that virtual ceremony. But again, congratulations to all children across both elementary school, high school, middle school, and college as well. And so I look forward to that, and I believe, I don't know if the principals are on the line, but if you could tell what day the pickup is, I believe it's on a Wednesday. But I will be out there for a little bit just to wave and say congratulations to those 6th graders as they pick up their certificates and they wave goodbye to their teachers. So again, that's exciting times for all graduates. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you for any closing remarks.
So I don't have a lot. It's interesting because this is Friday night, right? So I want to tell everybody to have a safe and wonderful weekend. And I just want to emphasize, welcome back. I know a lot of people are coming back to work on Monday throughout the installation, different commands and so on. And so we just want to say welcome back, and any concerns that you have, please share them so that we can address them. You might not be alone.
Thank you. And again, I always want to conclude with just a thanks across the board, and I can't say it enough. I thanked, and I left out, I think, IHG on the troops that we supported. If you didn't know, the hotels were pretty full in the last couple nights. And so IHG, thank you for really pushing hard to get as many rooms available as possible. But again, for all those out there that are supporting the installation, again, from the guards to the firefighters to the police to the hospital to the CDC workers to the contractors, to AFEs to the commissary, I could probably list a whole host of them, FMWR and across the board. This is a very large, complex installation, and it takes a team effort to make sure that we are fully functioning across the board. You know, our number one priority is to support or to protect our installation and our workforce. The second priority is mission assurance, to make sure all our mission partners are able to conduct their mission. And then third is the whole government approach. And I think we've really done that over the last several months. So again, I truly appreciate everything that everyone is doing to keep this installation going. I also want to remind folks that we do provide a weekly recap of questions that we addressed at the town halls. I believe there was maybe one or two we didn't address today. Those will be posted. If we don't address your question, please reach back out and re-ask those questions for next week. We could continue to try to address all the questions that come up. Also, we thank you for your questions and feedback. Captain Judy and I, we learn each week. We get better based off of feedback that you give us, and so continue to provide us that feedback. Again, open communications, transparency is something that's key to our success in the future. So we will continue to do these weekly until we start to broaden into maybe a monthly town hall. But thank you again for listening to us, and we look forward to our next update next week. Continue to stay safe and stay vigilant by continuing to practice social distancing, wear your face coverings, and wash your hands. Remember, working together, we are making a difference. However, the virus is still out there. These preventive measures make a tremendous impact in keeping our communities safe and healthy. So again, thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks again.